Hey everyone, it's me again, Dr. Mary, on my own again for the second episode. And I'm calling it The Cost of Showing Up, mainly because I want to talk about the process of what it was like writing the book and then the launch of the book. Before I get into that, if you haven't listened to or watched episode 1 for this season, please go back and do that first, just simply because it'll give you some context. And the other thing is, before I really get started talking about it, I want you to kind of put yourself in my shoes a little bit and think about a time when you reached a goal, or you received a promotion, or you achieved something really difficult. And it could be related to work or, ministry, volunteer work, or, through your family, friends, relationships, but just something where you felt like you had a lot riding on it. And it took something that you had to invest in, but also that you really wanted. So maybe if you could think about that, because I don't want this just to be about me sharing my experiences. I'm hoping that as you're hearing what I went through, it's going to give you permission and some opportunities for you to also process through some of the emotions that you would have gone through. Or you could be in the middle of it right now with something. And so perhaps this will be helpful for you to think about what's going on for you and what continues to go on for you when you're dealing with like things that you really want to do, but also can be really challenging. So, as a summary of what I'm going to talk about, let's just say I pretty much experienced everything that I wrote about in the book Rebecoming. I'm looking here again because I was going to show you a picture of it again, but I've put it somewhere else. I'm not going to be able to show it. But anyway, it'll be in the show notes, the link to the book if you're interested in buying it. But, I said in episode 1, I kind of had to live it before I could write it. And then, of course, while I was writing it and launching it, I was kind of reliving a lot of it. I don't know why I do this to myself. But hang in there with me because I think it's worth it. To do these kinds of hard things. So let's start from the beginning. When I first learned that a real live, actual publisher wanted to sign me on to write the book and actually pay me to do it, I was ecstatic. I mean, my heart was racing when my agent called me. And this is probably TMI. I was actually on the toilet having my quiet time. And when I saw the call come in, I was like, I have to take this. Either it's really good news or really bad news, but regardless, I have to take it. So he tells me, and I'm like literally screaming as I got the news. And my family on the outside, they're going, what the heck's going on? What the heck's going on? And it's because just the initial elation that you feel when you finally achieve something that you've wanted for such a long time. But then I would say very quickly after that, the self-doubt and the dread started coming in. Like, can I actually do this? What if I overpromised and underdelivered? The feelings of insecurity. I mean, do you ever feel that way? Like where you've got something you finally wanted and then the actual delivery of it, the actual work that you have to put into it, you wonder whether you can actually do it, whether you can actually measure up. So I was really feeling a lot of those. And on top of that, in my proposal, I had said I could write it in 2 months. I don't know what I was thinking. So there was just like anxiety. Can I actually do this? And it was happening through the course of last summer. So what does this mean for summer plans? Can I take the time off to do it? And then I was like thinking, I'm going to for sure hit writer's block because, as I've already shared, it took 10 years to even get writing, to even get an idea of what I wanted to write about. So with the second book, so I thought, is this even something that I can do? But when I went to sit down to actually write it, as I said, I took 2 months, 2 weeks off each month, and the words just flowed. And it goes to show that when you are believing passionately in something and you've actually lived it, when you actually have lived experience, whether you're tackling a, course or workshop that you're presenting, when you've actually got lived experience, there is a flow that comes that isn't based on just head knowledge or researching what some other people have said, but it comes naturally out of, your own experiences. But even though it flowed, my emotions were all over the place. I mean, there's points rereading my stuff and I'm going, wow, this is good stuff. And then other times I'm going, do I even know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I don't know how Peter, my husband, put up with me during that time. I mean, I would disappear for those 2 weeks and then I'd show up occasionally. And depending on whether I felt I hit a roadblock or whether I was feeling good about how I wrote was kind of the mood that I came with. So there was a lot of ups and downs. But although I felt good about the flow of the writing, the inner critic was alive and well while I was doing this. All the, do I really know what I'm talking about? What if I get it wrong? The fear of judgment. I just kind of started to question my confidence in my ability to do this. Do you ever feel that way? You're doing something, you're in a job or a role that you've wanted for a long time, and the first thing you feel is self-doubt. And your inner critic kicks in and starts to tell you you can't do it. So think about that, whether that's ever happened to you. And I suspect if you're honest with yourself, it probably has happened to you. And so then I finally finished the first draft and sent it in. And my anxiety was pretty high because I was working with an editor who, although I had met her and she presented, and I know she was a very gentle and kind and affirming person, I knew, having been edited before, that it can be a painful process because you put all this work into producing words on a page or whatever your project is, and then you send it in for approval and somebody else looks at it for the first time. I'll tell you something too. Although friends offered along the way to read and give me feedback, I was too scared. I was chicken to have anyone look at it. And so it was written and sent to my editor without anybody having laid eyes on it other than myself and her. And she, it takes her a few weeks. So in the meanwhile, I'm putting it aside and trying not to think about it too much, but wondering what the heck is she thinking and all of that. And then she sends me an email with her edits. And right away, the email says, I don't want you to freak out with all of the edits that are there, that's totally normal. So I already knew that there was going to be a lot of things that she wanted to change. And it was... yeah. So with sort of holding my breath, I kind of open up the document with the edits. And you know what? She was amazing. She was very gentle. She was affirming. So I was really, really fortunate with my editor. And the way that she suggested, it was very gentle, her changes. I mean, there was a lot of red. Let's just say that. There was a lot of edits that she suggested. And most of what she suggested was pretty fabulous, and I agreed with it. But there were some things I didn't agree with, and I had to wrestle with her being, she's the expert editor. She knows what people want to read, versus these are my experiences. These are my words. And I had to I wanted to advocate for myself, but I also second guess myself, as in, well, she's the expert. Who am I to say? So I probably didn't advocate for myself as much as I should have, although I am satisfied with the end result. But there were probably some things that she suggested I changed that maybe had I been a bit more honest, I would have left that in. But, that's the process. And the back and forth with the editing is multiple stages. So it is a fair bit of work. And it feels also like an interruption. Like I finally put it to rest. And then, oh gosh, more edits. Finally put it to rest and more edits. And then it's the process. And I knew that going in because I have gone through this process before. But it is a lot of work. And then it's done. The thing was finally done. It was submitted. It's accepted. And then when it was done, people were kind of commenting, oh, you must be so happy it's done. You must be so excited. And I was happy it was finished, but there was a lot of unsettled emotions that I was feeling because it's now out. And then, of course, when it came out in publication, I had a lot of people messaging. Many of you who listen and watch our podcast messaged and said, congratulations. The number one thing people said to me is, you must be so excited. And actually, I wasn't. I'm sorry to say this, but it was actually a bit more of when it came out, it was out. People could buy it. I went into an emotional crash, and it was a lot of self-doubt, a lot of worries. What would people think? Would it even sell? Why would anyone want to buy it? It's incredible, our inner critic and our insecurities, what it can do. But even though people were saying, you must be so excited, and I wasn't actually excited. If anything, I was probably flatlining a little bit, numbing myself so that I wouldn't feel all the insecurities and fears I was feeling. And I think I struggled with, like, I should fake happy. Like, I should say, yes, I'm so excited. Yes, this is so amazing. Because really, I felt so fortunate that I had this opportunity. And I felt like if I was really honest and saying that I was struggling, it would seem like I wasn't being thankful for it. And then, of course, it just felt like, it's just going to take too much energy to really talk about what I really felt. And I don't know if people would understand. And, part of it is my own, not just part of it, a lot of it is my own issues because I struggle with vulnerability. If I share about what I actually am feeling and need from others, it feels like I'm being too needy. And that's sort of the bane of the Enneagram 2. Our shame kicks in and we feel like we're being too needy if we're actually honest about what we need. So there were friends and family who wanted to celebrate my accomplishments, but I really struggled with that because on the one hand, I really longed to be celebrated. I really longed to be affirmed and validated and celebrated for what I had accomplished because it did take work and effort. But at the same time, I was really uncomfortable with it. So to be honest, I shut a lot of it down. I just kind of went to people, don't worry about it. If you want to share a glass of champagne, that's awesome. But I think shutting down my inner needs of really feeling celebrated was a big part of my struggles. And then the other challenge is I'm so aware of my shadow self and my ego needs. I'm so aware of how often my ego steps in and the longing to be affirmed and recognition, to be recognized, to succeed, to be seen a certain way, to be perceived positively was really strong. And so I was aware of that. And I think that I had to do a lot of processing about it because definitely my ego popped out and I would read certain comments and I would be elated because it would be great. Or I'd have experiences that were more disappointing and then I would be down in the dumps. And it was just up and down. And of course, that's shadow self. And, during my healthier moments, I was able to kind of let that go and go, actually, what I did was hard. I finished it. I feel good about it. And it is what it is. It's out in the world now and it's out of my hands. And I have no control over how people feel. And I am allowed to celebrate it. So that's that was the struggle. Is this my ego speaking, or can I, as a human being who's accomplished something that's difficult, be given permission to celebrate and to actually be proud of my accomplishment? So, same thing for you. Like when you've achieved something hard and difficult, and are you able to be proud of yourself? If I were your friend, I would be stinking proud of you. I wouldn't even think twice about celebrating you. But for some reason, when it's ourselves, we can doubt and feel like we're maybe being too egotistical if we wanted to kind of be proud of ourselves. And then, of course, once it went live, watching the numbers, watching the sales, tracking with social media and all that, like, why do we do this to ourselves? Because it's just, it's not good. It's not healthy to do that, but it's also natural. And it was a temptation that I struggled with resisting. So I had to also, again, say to myself, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just release it and focus on the fact that I wrote what I felt I needed to do, and the outcome is out of my hands. Yeah. But the other challenge was that when you write a book for a publisher and they actually pay you for it, at least for me, I felt a sense of responsibility. There are some expectations around doing some sort of like promotion. And I absolutely abhor self-promotion. I hate it. Can't stand it. And, the mixed emotions, longing for affirmation, but hating to feeling like it's egotistical and all of those things. So I just really struggled with it. But at the same time, because I felt a sense of responsibility, I kind of went all out. And I said yes to a lot of requests, pretty much all of the requests for podcasts, different shows, radio programs, whatever it was. And I think I ended up causing myself unnecessary stress because I was actually still working, and I was concerned with disappointing my team and disappointing my clients. So I was just like double working all of it, and I was ending up being exhausted and again over-functioning and putting pressure on myself. So for those of you listening and watching, as you think about, some projects you've taken on, did you actually stop trying to be the best parent you could be, or partner? Did you stop other responsibilities? Chances are you didn't. Chances are you thought you could do it all, and you kind of just kept going, and maybe you ended up in a place that I was kind of feeling, which was exhausted, close to burnout, but not quite, because thankfully I've been through it enough times that I was able to kind of do some self-care along the way. But I have been tired, and it has been hard to kind of really celebrate and enjoy the fruits of my labor. When you look from the outside in, many of you may think I should be like nonstop drinking champagne and excited and happy. But I think in my shoes, if you were in my shoes and you're honest with yourself, and you've been in similar situations, doing something that you love and you're passionate about, but that you're kind of really putting yourself out there in a very vulnerable way, you probably felt some of these similar feelings of insecurity, second-guessing yourself, inner critic, wondering if it's good enough. And so, like me, you might have been, or might be even currently now, your own worst enemy. And like me, maybe you might not have reached out for help and support from your people. And this is so key, because that's what I have learned, is that when I finally reached out for support from my friends and family, when I was finally honest with them about what I was going through, they came through for me, and I felt less alone. I think when you do something like this, that feeling of aloneness can really be part of the journey. So I did feel less alone, and we need our people. We need our people to help us work through our insecurities, to help us walk through the shame tunnel when we get into that place. It wasn't easy. I wasn't very good at articulating what I needed from my friends and family, and yet I still had this longing. And so it's kind of like I'm expecting them to read my mind. And then I had a situation where a friend said no to a request for help when I did reach out, and it was really hurtful and painful. and it caused me to shut down. And that's when I went into that, like, no, not going to celebrate. Don't worry about it. And I got to be honest with you. I know I preach it, but I haven't been honest with this friend yet. I haven't told her how I actually felt because it's just this another level of vulnerability that's hard. So if you're in my shoes and you've also not been honest or as direct, I'm with you. It's hard work to be vulnerable. It's hard work to reach out. I know I preach it, but it takes a lot of pain. It takes a lot of vulnerability, to share our pain with other people. Now, I'm a bit further down in my processing. I'm just sort of kind of reliving what I went through over this past past year. I'm further along in my experience of writing the book and releasing it. And I think in the process, I've learned to offer myself self-compassion and self-acceptance for my neuroses and my hang-ups, for my humanity. When we're honest with ourselves, when we do the work, it actually makes us more alive to our vulnerable emotions. And so it costs us emotionally. It costs us in the fear that can come up. But if we're going to live out of our essential selves, we have to risk. We have to show up. If we're going to grow, we have to step out and we have to face possible failure. We have to face possible judgment and criticism. If we can have the perspective that it's worth it because we will grow. And we will also live out of our essential self, which means that we're having a positive impact in the world in some way. We're serving people. We are, doing our part and shining some light. And so the cost is worth it. The other thing, too, is although I feel the feelings more doing the work, and there's a part of me that says, it was better in my old days when I was more numb and in denial. But in reality, I do feel more free. I'm so much faster at identifying how I feel and what I need and expressing it to the people in my life and reaching out for that support. And so doing the inner work has been worth it. It continues to be worth it, even though it's hard. But I feel like I am really showing up as the true me. And I, as a result, am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm living out my purpose in some way. So as you have been listening or watching as I'm sharing this, I want you to kind of reflect, what are you facing right now or have faced recently where insecurity and fear has been holding you back? Maybe you don't even let yourself dream because you just are so afraid of being disappointed. So I want you to just give that some thought and be gentle with yourself, because if you've never dreamed before or you've not really faced your insecurities, just be really tender with yourself, but just recognize that you may be the very block that's holding you back. And that is hard to face about ourselves. But at the same time, there's freedom in that because we have choice, we have agency, we have control over the outcome of our lives in so many ways if we choose to do the inner work. So it doesn't really matter where you are right now. What matters is getting honest with yourself of where you're at and being compassionate about that, about your struggles, your history that's shaped you, the lies that you've believed, the inner narrative, the inner critic. But it also means being really committed to the work of personal growth and doing it because it is so worth it. And you are so worth it. You really are. The world needs you to show up. And you have so much to offer when you choose to do the inner work so that it becomes an outpouring out of who you really are, out of your lived experiences, out of the wisdom, out of the insight you've gained. So please risk showing up. The world really does need you to show up. it's good not just for the world, but it's also good for your own maturity and growth. At the very least, do this for yourself because you are worth it. So thanks for tuning in as I've processed out loud some of my experiences in writing this book and releasing it. I hope it's been an encouragement to you so that you can enter into this season and process for yourself. Please follow along throughout season 6 as we unpack the different chapters of the book Rebecoming. And as much as we can be personalizing it for ourselves is going to be the most beneficial. So don't listen to or watch the episodes just sort of like as knowledge, but instead try to do the program, live it out, try it for yourself, and see how you change and grow and transform along the way. So, as I said, the next episodes are going to feature a special guest host, and Jillian. And just please watch them, listen to them, and cheer them on, especially for our guest host, because this is going to be the first time she's doing this, and she's going to be sharing from her experience and working through Rebecoming. And then I'll see you in January. So thanks so much for tuning in. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Fully Lived Life podcast. We hope you found it encouraging and helpful. Be sure to follow or subscribe so that you never miss a new episode. And if you enjoyed our show, please help spread the word by sharing with your friends and family and posting on your social media. Thanks for listening, and tune in to our next episode.